Welcome. Welcome to Virtual Cider Week, Hudson Valley. We are on day 6. We have 3 more days to go. It's been a blast. Lots of great videos and virtual conversations and tastings and happy hours, a couple of dinner dates, and we have a really robust schedule coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So definitely, tune in. I'm excited to be here with Kyle Sherrer from Graft. Him and I are, old pros at this. We had a conversation the other day about their new project, Hudson North, and I'm excited to have him back and tell us a little bit more about Graft Cider. If you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and about Graft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for those that don't know Graft, we make what I still think is somewhat unique. We make sour cider, which is a little bit different from, the traditional sweet cider that most people are kind of get as their introductory cider. And sour cider is, it's people fight over whether that's the right term to call it. But what really brought, me into this space was looking at European style ciders. And, from seeing back in the day when I started, getting into cider 8 years ago, had another cidery down in Maryland where we're doing all oak barrel fermentation, wild yeast, local fruit, different ingredients. And then, to Graft now, which is taking, this concept and putting it into a can, making it accessible for everybody, having really fun, interesting artwork, and just playing around with styles that are just completely out there. So we have a kind of foots in two worlds, like one in the past where we're looking at wild yeast that comes in off the apple skins, aging a blend of aging in oak and stainless, letting the wild microbes take over. So all of our ciders go through malolactic fermentation, which is a conversion of malic acid to lactic acid. So malic acid, think Granny Smith apples, extremely tart and punch you right in the face, versus lactic acid, which is like cheese acid or beer acid. So these natural microbes get in, they convert the acids, and then there's almost always a little bit of acidification. If you didn't have the acidification, the cider itself would just be super flabby. And acidification is like vinegar. Now, too much is terrible, and just the right amount is beautiful. And if you look at Spanish style sidra, which is where a lot of our where we look to for our initial inspiration, they have kind of perfected this art, and we've kind of just followed in their footsteps. And then on the other end, with the more contemporary, we've been open for about 3.5 years now. We've made over 100 different styles of ciders. One of the most important things for me getting into this was you'd go onto a beer menu, something like that, and you look at the amount of beer styles. There's hundreds easily, and then you go and you look at cider, and there's dry, there's sweet, there's semi-sweet, and now there's slowly becoming more and more. But to create styles and to create more utilization for ciders was a really big focus point for Graft. So, we've just been playing around, doing a bunch of different interesting stuff. I think we pioneered the Goza style cider. It had a beautiful tartness, so adding a little bit of sea salt to brighten everything up was really fun. We do a lot of different fermentation of fruits, play around with some interesting yeast. Like we have a whole sake series that I'm going to taste through today. And yeah, it's just been really fun to explore cider and just really just keep pushing the boundaries and kind of being that person, that cidery out there that's just trying to kind of see what's next. I almost think of us as kind of like Dogfish Head maybe 20 years ago before the acquisition.
Cool. Well, I have noticed that the artwork on your cans is amazing. Especially like the book of Nomad. It's just like following a comic book. Like if I was a comic book collector, I would be collecting your ciders, like literally collecting, like waiting for each one to come out, following the story, and like collecting the cans. Like who does your artwork? Who does?
So that's Caleb Luke Lynn. He's been with us from the beginning. He actually did a little bit of artwork for my first cidery, and he's just like me. We're both from Baltimore originally, and when he was working for us originally, he was down in Baltimore, but has since moved up to New York in the Brooklyn area. And his artwork is just absolutely fantastic. It's been great working with him on all these different projects. The Book of Nomad, like you said, was I think one of our coolest series because it was like, how do you push can art a little more? How do you push can art a little farther. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not producing something serious here, so you can really just get as wild and zany as you want. So we said, well, what if we did, every quarter? So if it's within a selling cycle, every month you do a different story. So 3 months, you got a beginning, middle, and end arc, and then you do it around a different style. So what style would be great for this time of year? And then the 3 different iterations let you play around within that style that you think might be interesting. So if you want, let's start with the Book of Nomad.
Yeah.
So this is Photosynthesis. This is actually the last one in the sake series that we did for spring. We had done some styles similar called mochi styles with milk sugar, vanilla, and then different kind of teas and fruits. We've been slowly moving away from milk sugar as an ingredient. I think the entire industry slowly is, and we just wanted to kind of reinvent it. So this year we started using sake yeast for all of the different ones we made. Then we used different Asian fruits, different teas. Teas are great in cider because they add not only tannin, but then the own thing they bring to the table. And tannin in cider is just, it's really a necessity if you're going for a full dry product. So, in Europe, they bring in tannin through apples. In America, we have to get a little more creative. There are tannic apples in America, but they're in super short supply, and you can never really kind of build a business up on them outside of, doing heritage style, small bottle stuff. So this one right here is the last one in the series. It followed on the story end, it followed it took a mochi series, took the story that was there, and then built off the story. Nomad is this, he's in here somewhere. I'm trying to get this. Here he is. And he's with a dog. He's kind of like a Doctor Who. She's a Doctor Who figure because there's females versions of him as well. And then she also has her own style of dog. So this was kind of like the evil android race that blotted out the sun. The whole android population that they had fixed in the last series, had fallen into depression. You got someone in the first one sitting there with a sign saying we'll sell parts for food or something like that. And then slowly they learn how to bring plant life back into the world. Very exciting stuff. But the Photosynthesis I'm drinking now is a Yuzu peach sake cider. It uses smoked oolong tea along with a little bit of tangerine.
Wow, that's incredible. So what's the sake part? How does the sake come into play? Do you add it or?
Yeah, so all the fruit and tea portion is fermented with the sake yeast. That's about 30% of the entire batch. And then the rest of it's blended into our base cider. The sake brings a lot of what you get from drinking, a sake style rice wine, which is actually really interesting that the yeast plays so much in the flavor development. So you get this really cool drying effect. You get some of that, I don't know, I guess sake-ness. I mean, sake is such a hard thing to pin down on the exact fruits. It's kind of like berryish, but it's got a bunch of other things going on with it. And just playing that up with the fermentation of the fruit and the light tannin in this one especially, I love playing with smoke and white fruit. So peaches are so good, nice to work with that. And then whenever you're using smoke, you always have to do it delicately because it's so easy to overwhelm anything with smoke. So a little bit of citrus, that yuzu flavor, really just works wonders. It was my favorite of the series. We also did one kind of based on chai using plum and acai. And then we did the first one, which was just straight in tropical, big cider. It's dragon fruit, guava, and matcha, which was a lot of fun.
Amazing. It sounds like you're creating a dish, like a chef would think about a dish. You're balancing it out. You're bringing all these flavors. You're going cultural references. It really sounds like I'm hungry now. It sounds like you're a mastermind chef creating the perfect dish balance. That's really fascinating to me. Are you the one primarily doing all the the kind of recipes for all the flavors and coming up with all the
at this
flavors?
point in time, yes. I had another guy who was an ex-chef, and he was collaborative in a lot of the stuff we were doing as well. And we always kind of worked together. But I've kind of taken back. He recently moved back down to DC as working a brewery down there. So I'm back on taking the reins. Yeah, like you said, it's about taking inspiration from other food and flavor pairings out there, and then also just figuring out why would someone want to drink this? What makes it interesting? What makes it jump off a menu? So like, if you just did sake yeast and then you use berries or something like that, it'd be interesting, but it wouldn't be a full concept. So it's like you bring the Asian fruit to the table, you bring the tea. So you have all these things that kind of make sense in someone's head. And then you make sure the flavors also make sense on top of that. So it's that kind of layering of different elements in that's really fun, I think, for us.
And it sounds like also perfect food pairings. Like, just I would drink here that, it's the photosynthesis. I can't even say it.
Yeah. No worries.
But I would drink that with like eating sushi,
Yeah, we actually did last year when we had the mochi series, which was similar in concept, a little different in execution. We had done something with Ivan Ramen down in the Brooklyn area, and we had done something with the DC ramen spot. So yeah, like pairing it up. Obviously, with COVID, it's hard to do stuff like that, but pairing it up with awesome, interesting places that are creating great dishes is a really fun way of kind of showing these ciders off as well. That's
awesome. That's really, really cool. Very cool. All right. I think the next one is salt and sand.
Sure. Let's jump into salt and sand. So staying on the smoke train, these are like the only 2 smoked ones we ever do out of the 110 ciders we made. Actually, no, that's a lie. We did some very long ago. Don't like to use smoke in huge amounts, but these just happen to be 2 smoked ciders we do. This one has been a classic. This was our first first seasonal Goza we did a long time ago. It's based on Mezcal Margarita, so it works great with the lemony base of our cider. And then you add in lime zest, lemon zest, and then typically we were using smoked sea salt in the past, but this year we want to just add a little more integrity, a little more complexity to what we're doing. So we actually fermented agave with a portion of this, and then use smoked oak chips to add a light element of smoke and tannin into it. So you're getting like all that interesting kind of complex smoky characters that you get out of a delicious mezcal, and then a little bit of salt and a lot of citrus.
That's really cool.
Perfect for summer.
That's very, very cool.
We're excited to kind of rework that one this year. One thing we've kind of done with all of our seasonals is move away from the Goza branding. So in the past, we've always been like cider for craft beer drinkers, but as that kind of trend is slightly waning, we're trying to broaden ourselves a little bit, do more with cocktail inspired, lean into wine style flavors, and not really tie ourselves down too much to any one thing. Just focus on being creative and bringing really interesting flavors that taste really good to people has been the focus. On
awesome.
Kind of crossing that bridge away from craft beer, Field Day, which is just coming out, becoming a year round for us. We had done a collaborations with Whole Foods, and we had kind of gone back and forth on some concepts, and it landed on doing a rhubarb Spritz style cider. And it's really hard to do with Graft anything with high bitterness levels because you have no sweetness to balance it out. So we had worked around with it, and we had found really cool again. And like I said, we don't do tons of things with tea, but another tea cider coming up. So we use a little bit of rooibos with this. Rooibos is great because it doesn't taste insanely tea-like. It also brings like a woody vanilla and a really nice mouthfeel. But really the rhubarb's the star in this Field Day. So this is one of the few products that we don't use fermented fruit with. We actually use the rhubarb as the sweetness. Everything else is fermented. And then we also ferment the cider with dried blood oranges and hibiscus. Still really low in sugar. It's 1 gram of sugar a can, 145 calories. And it's supposed to kind of emulate like a fruity rosé meets like very slight, like an Amaro Spritz or something like that. So really great, again, for the summertime. I mean, for better or worse, sour cider is a spring summer drink. I wish it was more of a year-round thing, but that's what Hudson North's for. So
yeah, I drink that. I drink that profile all year round. It's just so satisfying and like thirst quenching to me. Like just drinking like clear acidity and sour and tart and like Spanish style ciders. Like it's just so thirst quenching and so satisfying to me. I drink them in the winter. I'm gonna get everyone drinking them in the winter.
But I think I'm a minority. It's. I mean, right now they're absolutely amazing. I was telling you, I was a little late to the pre-call, and our glycol was down, so it was hot as hell in our cider. And you crack one of those up, and you're like instant refreshment. It's amazing.
That's really, really cool. Awesome. Cool. And now we have your new release, which is the borrowed design.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one, I probably, we take a lot of time and effort to making things unique. This is probably one of the most unique ciders we've ever made. It's made with Finback right out of Brooklyn. We've done a ton of collaborations. Our Shared Universe series is kind of a way of kind of just being an anything goes as far as the label and the concept, which has been really fun because it lets me kind of challenge Caleb's art style. And he does some of his best work when we're like, hey, let's look a little bit outside of the box. I know we had done something with Lamplighter, and it was called Farm Stand Fortune. It was a cider donut style cider where we used tannin bittersweet apples from France and like cinnamon and other kind of nutmeg spices. And then I was like, well, for the label, it was Farm Stand Fortune because, you go to the farmers markets and people always are buying cider donuts. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke saying that they made all their money. So it's a bunch of animals. I had asked them for a bunch of animals kind of walking around like finery and jewels, and the farmer just kind of looking at them like, what the hell's going on here? He's like, Kyle, I can't draw animals standing up. It's going to break my mind. So he's like, can I put them behind the table? And he put them behind the table. It's one of the greatest labels. I mean, it's really hilarious. Like you got the lamb like smoking a cigar, and it's like all dressed up in like pea coats. Yeah, so it's a really fun one to challenge. This one, back to the binary stars. Borrowed design. Binary stars was the one we had just done. It's a Riesling Amaro cider, and again, playing off the fact that there's a little bit of sweetness in it. Again, you can't bring in like bittering agents like Genetian root, which is very typical in Campari, without bringing in some sweetness. We really tried to do it. I love Campari and all the like Negronis drinks that go with it so much, and I've tried to work in bittering elements, and it just never works. It's just too much fatigue right away. So for this, we use a little bit of Genetian root, not too much. And the real star here is the Riesling cider base. So we pretty much got Riesling skins from Brotherhood Winery, then made almost like piquette style, where piquette is typically you make first press grape skins the first runoff is the wine, the second runoff is just these grape skins, but there's still sugar and things in them. Then they typically put water on top of them and re-ferment them with the grape skins. Now what we did is made kind of a cider piquette where you're putting instead of water, sweet cider over top to then re-ferment with the grape skins. And then we made it into almost an orange wine component where we let it sit for 2 months, some in oak, some in stainless, to kind of build up off the character of the skins. And it's kind of funky, but it has like some really cool, interesting characteristics that develop from that long skin contact on white wine grape skins. And then let that age for another 6 months before blending it. So that pretty much makes up the entire base of this one. And then we used sweet woodruff infused honey. So by putting things into honey, it has such a high sugar concentration that it works almost like an alcohol. So when you're like sitting at home muddling something and pulling out flavors through, you buy your local Everclear, you dump it in, you're getting, you're putting fruit in there, you're putting spices. Anyways, same thing happens with high sugar. So we put sweet woodruff in there with the honey, which is like a really, it's like sweetly herbaceous. It's really cool. And then we finished this one off with, I have to read it because we make so many different things. We did some dried blood orange, very traditional in a lot of Amaros. And it just pours. We're going to finish this one with a pour. This like beautiful, you got to hold a little higher, like reddish purple, cool. And it has a little bit of sweetness, 3 grams of sugar. So
amazing. That's for the Negroni lovers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a twist. I'd love to keep making these styles because between doing an orange wine and then throwing it into like Amaro ingredients, it was zany. It was out there. I mean, this was Finback's idea was to do the Amaro side, and I was like, well, we've never done that before, so let's give it a shot. And it worked really well. I'd love to develop more of these because they're just so fun and just so out there in flavor. If you drink it, you just never had anything I think like this before, unless it's like a cocktail made in front of you. So I think it's really, really cool. And that's why we do these collabs, because they allow us to step outside of our comfort zone, think about things in a way we wouldn't see it. And then, it also translates into the art. So we had called it Bar Design because we take inspiration from so many, different things outside of actual cider and beer. So we have, 3 different wings. And then, Caleb drew a test wing for a human. I think at the top, it's like $7 billion spent, 410 casualties and counting or something like that. Oh, wow. So, it was like tongue in cheek, things going on with the labels. So like when I work with Caleb, we just kind of give him a blank template, be like, hey, we want to kind of work with kind of anatomical drawings, and it turns into, some sort of flying thing. And then he actually does all the hard work, which is creating these things and making it fun and interesting. And then I get to wake up in the morning because he's a night owl. He does all his work, 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I wake up and I get these really cool labels.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have all the story? I'm sure he does, but you should publish a book with all the storyboards, and all the labels. It's really beautiful art, I think. It's really fun.
We do not a compendium, but every 3 months we come out with a little comic book that we do at these dinners when we have these special dinners. So you'll have little paragraph story because it's for Instagram. It can't be more than a paragraph. And you got the artwork and what's in it, and so you can flip through. And then he does a cover design. It's fun. It's not a comic book. Doesn't have the depth of writing. It's a cider label. But who gets to say that their cider or beer label has a small short story and follows this style, and you can follow along yourself at home.
That's very cool. Do you personally have a collection of every single can since you started?
Yeah, I mean, they don't fit on the wall anymore. I have them on the other side of the wall as well. We ran out of space about, I think, 6 months ago from the amount of different labels we've done. Like I said, over 100. Not all of those canned and with artwork, but at least 90 of them do. So it's a lot. I'm sure, 5 years from now, we're gonna build a flip book. And I'm just gonna go through all of them, and just have little memories about each one that we made along the way.
That's really, really cool. Well, I think all these ciders are also available on your website. Directly, right?
Yeah, every single one that we made today's that I drank through today is on the website. We want to give a really cool compendium what we're working on right now and what we're excited about. It's not hard because we make so many different things to find cool things that we can pick and choose. And we think this is kind of a great expression of what we're focusing on and where we're trying to kind of build to in flavor and in concept right now.
That's really cool. Awesome. And is tasting room one day? Is that coming near? Is that? Yeah. So I actually have a meeting tomorrow about that. And we're hoping to have the production space open by the spring, and then early summer, fingers crossed, we'll have the tasting room open. It's going to be in this big old brick courtyard. There's a stream running underneath the tasting room. It's really going to be a cool kind of facility, not only to have a great indoor-outdoor drinking experience, but to allow us to be even more creative and experimental with the draft lines that we put on from Graft and the hybrids between some of the other companies and projects that we work on. All in that space. So I definitely I look forward to making some natural wines and some batch cocktails that are just, absolutely crazy there, and, serving them out on draft. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's awesome. Well, definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to the future in general. Looking forward. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. everything's going to get better, right?
Yes. It's all getting better. It's a little patience right now. That's all. Yeah. Exactly. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to tell us about? I know you guys are also doing takeaway dinner with Miss Fairfax. That's available. You can order direct from Miss Fairfax tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah.
Friday night dinner.
Yeah, and I know they're going to have there's a special cocktail that they made with the bar designs that is a Negroni julep concept. It's delicious to use. It's a little more honey, mint, developed by our good friend Ed, who has his own cocktail series that he does. Check out the link. Definitely give him a really creative, has a great presence. Definitely worth watching if you're a cocktail enthusiast and want to try out some new stuff.
Yeah, we have them actually on our YouTube channel. We have a cocktail that with Graft Cider and a cocktail with Hudson North that Ed designed. So you guys can check it out on our YouTube channel. Go back and see a couple of those really delicious cocktails being made. Cool. Well, dude, thank you so much. This has been fun. I feel like I want to start collecting them now. I like so many. Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for tuning in and telling us, all about your passion. And you also made me really hungry with all those flavor combinations. Awesome. But yeah, guys, tune in. As I said, you guys can go back to our YouTube channel and just we have an orchard tour, or production cidery tour with Kyle that he did earlier this week, and it's on our YouTube channel. You can see the production space. You can also go back and hear about Hudson North, their I guess sister or new cider
brother sister. Floor's the wine spritz, that's the sister. Hudson North brother, but we don't know their gender roles yet.
To BD.
Yeah, BD. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. And as I mentioned, we have 3 more days to go. Check our event schedule. We have lots of fun stuff coming up. You can check about the details for Miss Fairfax dinner tomorrow with Graft Cider as well. You can pick it up and enjoy it at home. And yeah, thank you once again, Kyle, and thank you to everyone at Graft. It's been great chatting with you guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Cheers.